I sit on my knees on the cold tile floor of the bathroom, resting my forehead against the porcelain rim of the toilet. The early morning rays of sunlight were just starting to fill the room, illuminating more and more of the bathroom as the minutes ticked by. There's a sudden rustling of blankets, and the bed creaks as I imagine Hieronymous sits bolt upright. Tori? I let out a breath through my nose. I know I have to answer him, but as I open my mouth to speak, an unpleasant stream of fluid passes through my lips as I make one of the most grotesque heaving sounds that I could have ever imagined myself making. Tori? Hieronymous is by my side in an instant, smoothing back my hair as I rest my head against the cool rim. My forehead is sweaty and my hair is stringy and damp, and I must smell as disgusting as I feel, but Hieronymous just sits down beside me as he runs his fingertips up and down the small of my back. Are you all right? I just nod my head up and down a few times, trying to fight off the dizzy spell it causes. Yeah, I think I'm just stressed. He frowns. I don't even have to look at him to know that he was frowning. It was like I could hear his scowl. Maybe we had been married so long that I just knew how he was going to react. At least I could find some small nugget of assurance in the fact that I felt secure enough in our relationship to let Hieronymous see me this way. If he had walked in on me throwing up when we had first gotten together, I probably would have used the spell to kick him out and lock the door behind him. You didn't eat much at dinner last night, Hieronymous ventures, breaking me from my thoughts. You said you weren't feeling well. I just shrug. Stress can make a person sick. Case in point. Hieronymous frowns as if he's not sure what to say. Is this about what Potsdam said? Potsdam had sent us a short letter back the very next day saying that she was glad that Hieronymous was alive and well. She wrote that she would have loved to visit us here at Ravine Cottage, although she would be unable to leave Iris Academy, and we were welcome to visit at any time. Even more important, however, was the mention that I had more than proven my capabilities as a witch, and she would present me with my high school diploma when we arrived. She knew how important my graduation was to Hieronymous, which meant that this had to be a trap. Hieronymous had written her back almost immediately, telling her that we would be more than willing to visit her as soon as he had recovered more of his strength. We never heard back. After that, I sent a letter of my own to Virginia to ask her if she had heard from Potsdam yet, but she said that she hadn't. Hieronymous advised me not to mention that Potsdam made it seem like she was going to allow me to graduate, but I wasn't planning on it. It felt like a trap, and by now I had learned that I needed to trust my instincts, especially when they seemed to be in sync with what Hieronymous thought as well. You don't need to worry, Tori, Hieronymous says quietly. I won't let anything happen to you. You know that. I'm more worried about something happening to you, I say, although I'm speaking more to the toilet bowl than to him right now. Think about it. Something happens to you, and what am I? An American Viscountess in a British estate that I have no idea how to run? You seem to have done a good job of it so far, Hieronymous offers, but I just shake my head. I mean it, Tori. I have looked at the logs and the records you kept. You are meticulous and organized, and you have a good head for accounting. It's only because I had help, I tell him. As far as accounting goes, James and Oliver also made sure that I kept the books as meticulous as possible so you'd have a complete record of what I did while you were gone. In terms of everything else, I feel like I should just consider myself lucky that Melodia seems to have taken a liking to me. She gave me the resources I needed to help pull things together. Hieronymous pauses for a moment before he reaches forward and kisses the back of my hair just above my ear. It's no secret that if something happened to me, she would want you to marry Bej. We're not talking about that, I say immediately. I thought I would be more jealous than I feel, Hieronymous muses, more to himself than to me. You would be extremely well provided for, and Bej does seem to care for you a great deal. You dote on him as well. Given what has happened to me, I am willing to accept that you may have certain gifts, and Melodia can help you foster them. You could do a lot worse. Good thing nothing is going to happen to you, so we don't have to worry about it, I say, trying to resist the urge to get sick again. You were so lost because you didn't have a plan of what to do if something happened to me, because we never thought anything would, Hieronymous continues. But it did. I would feel far better if you agreed to work out a plan as to what you would do with your life if I wasn't in it. And I would feel far better if we stopped having this conversation, I tell him firmly. What would happen to the Grabiner estate? If I married Bej, he would take over these lands, Hieronymous explains. They would become part of his territory. Out of respect for me, I would expect him to at least leave some territories attached to the Grabiner name. Okay, so if something happens to you, I will go off and marry Bej and become a princess, I tell him flatly. If something happens to me, you have to go and marry Virginia and eat an ice cream sundae with her every night for the rest of your life. Hieronymous snorts in amusement. No, if something happens to you, I will not remarry. I will focus on my work, and when it comes time, I will select someone of promise to take over the estate and still allow our family legacy to live on. I pause for a moment. I feel like you've thought about this. When have you thought about this? There is a very real possibility that I may not have woken up, Hieronymous reminds me. There is a very real possibility that I could have died, or that you could have died, trying to save me. I don't want to plan for the inevitable, but the truth is that we will both die someday, Tori. Hopefully, it will be very far in the future when we're both old and gray, but if it happens sooner, we both need to be prepared for it. I pause for a moment as I consider what he's saying. Okay then. If something happens to you, I will do as you asked. If marrying Bej is no longer an option for me, then I will secure their help in finding someone who can take over the Grabiner estate. I will go back to America and go to college. I will probably study something related to memory magic and get a job in that area. I also want to work with Minnie to protect wild seeds, so I would probably figure out some way to help her with that too. Thank you, Hieronymous says as he kisses my forehead. Now, do you think you can stand? I hesitate for a moment as I try to take stock of myself. Weirdly enough, I did feel a bit better. I didn't think that I would, but this conversation hadn't turned out as emotional as I thought. We had both been through too much, and planning for the worst hardly seemed like a bad idea, especially when the worst had already happened. Moreover, we both realized that our lives couldn't stop if we lost one another. We both had duties to the estate, but we also had a duty to make sure that we still continued to live our lives if the other was gone. Last year, we had gotten into so many fights because we both acted like the world would be over if our relationship ended, but this year had changed so many things. Now, we were secure knowing that our relationship would only end one way, and even if that terrible thing did come to pass, we respected each other not to give up on ourselves if that really were to occur. No, instead, we would continue to live on and respect the legacy that we had created, and that was more important than anything else I could think of. Yeah, I say, as I shakily get to my feet. I could really use a shower, though. I know you usually don't like to, but will you join me? Hieronymous just smiles a soft smile as he leans forward to kiss my forehead. It would be my pleasure.